This is our first stop here in England, and it is a mighty beautiful one, as you can see by the hotel behind me, and also the most magnificent gardens I think that I've ever seen.
Betty, this place was started around the year 1100 something. Then after that, it had a big history, didn't it?
Yeah, you were interested in the flowers. I was more interested in the plumbing. To think that they had air conditioning and they had heating and they had their own train to bring the coal in to make it hot for them in the wintertime.
And that was way back when, 1800 something?
Yeah. They had as many conveniences then as we have today.
It's great. I'll tell you, this was so exceptional. And it had a great history to it. It would pass through many families, and who was it? Earl of Dulce. That was Dulce.
Dulce.
Dulce,
That's
yeah.
candy in Spanish, isn't it?
Dulce.
Something
Pretty close.
like that, huh? Well, it was a sweet trip. It
Yeah.
was a sweet
Well,
trip.
and it was a great place, I'll tell you.
I love the fact also that it was used during the war as a
hospital, wasn't it? Yeah, that's
both
true.
by the English and by the Americans.
Yeah, it really had quite a history. Well, we're going to leave England and we're going to go across the river and get ourselves into Wales.
Now we've arrived in Wales, and Wales is a bilingual country with two official languages, English and Welsh. And you'll be able to spot Welsh fairly easily because now all signposts will be written in both languages. Coming up on the left is a brown signpost that says "Welcome to Wales, Croeso i Cymru," which is the Welsh underneath. It's not a particularly large. It's no more than a couple of 100 miles from north-south, maybe slightly less than that. So it's not huge, and we're going to drive across the width of it now.
You know, this is the thing. You don't know when you leave one country and go into the other here in the British Isles, unless you see a sign there in another language. It's the same way, over in Ireland, too, where things are both in Gaelic and in English.
Yeah.
And here in Welsh and in English.
We have that here in America when you go in from one borderline to the other, unless that you have to go through some kind of a checkpoint. We don't know whether when we leave California actually to get into Nevada, do we?
Not unless you see the sign. And
Yeah,
if you blink, you miss it.
if you blink,
That's
you
the
miss
same
it.
way here,
And
I think.
That's the way it is here. I guess, I don't know whether that's like because of a matter of economics or whether nobody thought to do it.
Or nobody really cares, huh?
Yeah.
But anyway.
I love this.
Oh, yeah, here we go. Through the little villages, this is what I love, too, because it's so nice. And, as most of these countries, and we'll see this when we get over to Ireland, have joined the European Union, they've made some great big highways, and sometimes they're bypassing some of these towns, Betty, and I think that's a shame, doggone it.
But it's faster. But when we go down those little narrow streets like that in that big bus, I think, oh my God, we're not going to make it. And then of course you realize, well, it's a one-way street.
Yeah, that's true.
Of course, they're not all one way. Some
No,
of them are
that's-
just narrow.
That's true. Well, we stopped here at the little town here in Wales, and we're going to catch the ferry boat.
Is that a picture of your boat right there? The
No,
one
but
that's sunk?
but isn't that looks sort of like it, doesn't it? But the tide is out here, and these boats are just. I mean, this would scare me to death. I'll tell you if I had my boat there, but because they're just sort of up on the mud flats right there. But I guess it's all right because when the tide comes back in, whoop,
But they
float
look
back up
actually.
again.
It looks actually like they could. The tide couldn't be that high. That they had a big storm or something, and they were beached. But
I think this is just low tide, at this particular time of day. But it does, you're right. They do look like they're sort of beach. That's scare me a little bit. I don't know. But I guess they've been doing this for centuries, so they know what they're doing.
I'm sure. But you just leave your little boat where it is.
I
Don't
will
you
do
take
that.
it over there.
No,
Okay.
not about to do that.
All right. Now, is it lunchtime?
Yes, it is lunchtime, and we found some just great little places right here. I'd love to have those little meat pies that you can find.
Well, why
in
don't
the
you
British
learn how to make them? You like to cook.
Well,
No,
no.
Excuses.
I think it takes too long. I mean, they've got that puff pastry, and
But
it's
you
just
buy
great.
that already puffed. No, not puffed, but it's ready to puff,
You've got to bake it, right?
Yeah, that's all you'd have
Hey,
to do.
that was the thing here, too. I got a steak and kidney pie, And I thought, they'd been sitting there on the counter, and I thought, well, this is really great. I took a bite of that and almost burned my mouth, I'll tell you. It was just incredible. But there's, as we can see, there's a monument here to some of the military, and we just had a wonderful time.
Yeah.
Anyway, we finally got on the boat to get across to go over to Ireland. But Betty, this was one of the roughest crossings, I'll tell you, that I'd ever seen.
It was bad. You know, we've done it before where we did dancing and they had the Irish band playing
Not this
and
time.
stuff.
You just
so
hung
it
on
was
this time.
enjoyable. This way, you just sort of prayed you'd get over there. Huh?
Right. And the funny thing is that here we're on this big boat, and look, it's hauling little boats.
Yeah. Marv, I've always been fascinated with these boats. So how I keep thinking, oh my God, they're going to put too heavy a one on the end and it's going to go down or lift up or something. And it never does.
No, it never does, because they really know what they're doing. I mean, this, they're making this crossing across the Irish Sea.
A little rain. Why
several
didn't you
times.
why didn't you get the spots off the windows when you took the picture?
I was staying inside the bus, thank you.
Oh, okay.
Staying inside the bus. Anyway, we are now in Ireland. And, of course, we're going to experience sort of a rainy afternoon. But, we've been so fortunate in most of our trips. We've seen very little rain. We had a little bit more on this one than we have on some of the other ones. But, that's the way that it really goes.
How do you think Ireland got so green?
That's the only way.
That's the
I'll tell
only
you.
way.
And, of course, now we have stopped just a little outside of Waterford where our hotel is. And it's time to do what, Betty?
Eat.
That's right.
We all do that so well.
I know it. I really, really loved this trip. Our food was just excellent. It was really gourmet food at almost every place where we stayed.
This was an exceptional trip because in many of the hotels we were able to order right off the menu. And usually on tours, you might have a choice, with 3 selections. But here, you got what
it was wonderful.
Really,
Yeah,
it
it
was.
was
Good first class.
Well, see, it rained that afternoon and that night, but the next morning, here we are, just about ready to take off, and this was the nice hotel we stayed. And Betty, what? It surprised me now that most of the places we stayed had, I would say, leisure centers is what they call them, or spas, or whatever you want to call it, but where they have a swimming pool, and you can, if you happen to live in the community, you can join, like just joining a gym, pretty much so, and come there.
That's very economical. That's
Very
a
good.
sensible way to use. Especially, there for a while we didn't have a lot of traffic going, so they were looking for ways and means to help their own economy, and it makes it great for them and for the people.
Speaking of traffic, we have the early morning traffic jam here in Waterford, just trying to get out. And like Betty said, there are so many of the little roads that you see. Now,
I
what
love that.
surprised
Look
me
at.
too, and we're going to see this through Ireland, a lot of new houses that are being built. And here's an older one that's for sale. Isn't that a beauty?
It's beautiful. I wonder what all that ivy on the wood does. I have some ivy growing on mine, and every once in a while I'll pull it down because I don't want the tendrils going into my redwood, And I just think that's probably going to end up being a ivy house.
Well, it'll hold it together.
Yeah.
Anyway, we've traveled on now through Dungarvan, and of course we're hit.
Dungarvan.
Yeah, that's true. And so we want to get to the place where we really, really enjoy, and that, of course, is Blarney and Blarney Castle, and that's what we're headed to now. But as we go along, of course, we're traveling on sort of the southern portion there of Ireland, and you can see part of the sea right here, and it is really, really beautiful. Again, it's a little overcast day, but I'd rather have it this way than it be too warm.
Oh, not me. Give it to me. Give me the hot stuff.
Really?
Yeah. But this is kind of dozy weather. I mean, you get up and then you have your breakfast, and you can do a little napping here, and just relax.
It's just good that I didn't turn the camera around to everybody who was in the bus.
I think that's true.
I think that's what was happening, actually. But here we are now in Blarney Castle, and I want to remind people, and I'd forgotten it until every time we get to a castle. It is, these steps that you see right here are not the easiest things in the world.
They're not for everybody.
And they're not really, really big, and you have to hang on to something usually. Now, you can see here where the various floors were in the castle. Of course, those were wood. That's all given away. And, of course, maybe the ivy grew in there and also on the roof, which is gone as well.
Now, those people are all standing up there to kiss the Blarney Stone.
That's
Isn't
right.
that? And if you kiss the Blarney Stone, that just means you have an exceptional gift of what, Blarney?
Blarney. Yeah, right. That's what they say. I didn't do it this time because I thought, I've done it a couple times before. And I thought
didn't either.
Maybe the third time is liable to take it away.
But it's scary. It's scary. You lay down flat on your back. Of course, there's someone there to help you.
Yeah.
And then your head is outside the little hole, and that's nothing down there. You
No,
know.
that's right.
I don't know.
Go down about 4 floors, and
then
boom.
when I kissed it, I put my actually spoiled it because I put my lips up with my fingers, so I was really kissing my fingers that kissed the Blarney Stone.
Oh, so you really didn't kiss it then?
No, I don't want everybody's germs on my mouth. So I cheated. But really, look at how many miles have been up there. So I did cheat. But I got the same effect. Look how I talk.
Yes, that's true. I guess
and on and on and on and on. I think it was a good thing I didn't do it twice.
Right through your fingers, huh?
Yeah.
If you look from Blarney Castle, off in the distance, you see another beautiful manor house, which we see right here. Someday, Betty, I don't know if that's open to the public, but I would love to go through that. That setting is so beautiful. And, of course, the setting here where the castle is quite beautiful as well.
That castle setting, or that manor, whichever it was, looks like a great setting for a mystery story. With the spies, where the spies go in and da-da-da-da-da. Yeah.
At Blarney Castle.
Yeah.
You
want to write a book?
Yeah, well, maybe someday.
In your spare time?
Do I get a trip to Ireland to do it?
Yeah, sure. You can
Oh,
go to
wow,
Ireland.
that sounds
You
like
can
a good
go to
idea.
Ireland anytime you want.
Yeah, see, now they're hanging on. There's
Yeah.
Sean, and he just, boom, kissed it real
Well,
fast.
it's good to do it. Now,
Yeah.
Alexandra, did she do it? I don't remember.
No, she said,
She
no
did,
way.
not for
no
me,
way.
huh?
No, Alexa said, no way.
Okay.
She doesn't
And
want
look,
to do
you
it.
gave him a pat on the back as if he had really accomplished
Well, it is a big
something.
accomplishment. I don't know. As I say, I've done it before, but not this time. But look at this.
Oh,
Isn't this
beautiful.
gorgeous?
It's
See,
just
this is beautiful.
yeah.
And there are more areas to walk around. When you go to Blarney, you want to make sure that you have enough time here. Now, a lot of people like to spend their time shopping at the Blarney Woolen Mills, which, of course, we did too, and we also had lunch there as well. But there is so much to see. Now, this is heather, as you see right here, and there are many shades of heather. In fact, I brought some seeds home. I guess it was okay. They were all packaged.
As long as
I'm
they're
going to plant
packaged,
those this spring.
there's no problem.
And here we see the mills right here, and they have all sorts of wonderful things inside for you to buy.
Now, I don't remember, Marv. You talk about it being mills, MILLS.
Well,
did they actually do carding and things like that?
No. I think at one time they. Well, no, I take that back. There are some workshops in some of the other areas, but that mainly is just mainly for shopping, as you see right here, and that's where I had lunch here at the Muskerry Arms. This was a little pub right here, and everybody sort of spread out and did their thing as far as trying to find little pubs, and boy, they have some great ones too.
That's why we never put lunch on the menu on our trips. It's always breakfast and dinner because people, when you have the time, like to spread out and try the new little places.
Right.
Not new, but different
Yeah,
places.
and it is really, really, really fun. Well, we have left Blarney now, and we're going through some other little towns. This was a fortification. I don't remember the name of this town, but I know we've been through here a couple of times before. And but these buildings are just so great. But look how close the sidewalk is.
You know what? There's so much rock. Of course, Ireland had a lot of rocks.
It does have a lot of rock.
Yeah,
right.
and they use them later for fences and things, you know. But I love the rock homes.
Well, and as we travel along, as I said a little bit earlier, we're going to see that there are a lot more places that are being built now because the economy has become so great in Ireland. But now we're going to go to Muckrock House. Muckrock House sits on, or very close to the shores of Muckrock's Lake.
It sits?
It sits.
It does just
It's
sit.
perched there.
Does it stand up or just always sit?
Well, as much rain as it had, it's a wonder that it didn't
slide
off
huh?
into it. Right. Anyway, we're in the middle of the Killarney National Park, and this is really quite a beautiful place, even with the rain. Unfortunately, we can't take pictures inside. We used to be able to do that, but they don't let you do that anymore. This was owned by the Henry Arthur Herbert and his wife, who was a watercolorist, who some people may know, Mary Belford Herbert. And, you know, the place here that we see had a wonderful visit in 1861 by Queen Victoria and also Prince Albert. And they were here. And it is quite beautiful inside. This was the first time that we were able to see the inside of it. Before, we just sort of went around the grounds and saw that. Today we couldn't do that because of the rain, but we got a chance to see the inside. Well, I wanted to make sure that we got a little bit of Irish music, so we took some off the Irish television.
That wasn't my idea of Irish music. They were sourpusses. They never smiled, and they didn't have a beer in their hand to quench their thirst in between time.
There was a whole bunch of people around when they were playing that.
Yeah,
you know?
I guess.
So it wasn't really the pub stuff.
No.
Neither was this either. This was our hotel, and we had a beautiful breakfast that morning. It was absolutely incredible. And I enjoyed the place where we stayed here at the Killarney Arms. It was really, really quite great. But Betty, they had a little place right next door that I wanted to see, and it was closed. And this, of course, we've done this before. These are the little chutneys.
Yeah, where did we go one time when we were riding on these and the horse dropped dead? Where was
that was in Egypt.
We're driving along and poing, down goes the
That was in
horse.
Egypt, yeah. And that was, you talk about the heat. And a lot of us went to see that night, we went to see the Dance on the Moon, and this was really a great exhibition. It was fun. Well, we're back on the bus again. I'll tell you, this has been a real exciting trip. Betty, you and I wanted everybody to be able to see a little bit of the southern and western Ireland, so we added 2 days to this trip, which I think just really made it extra special. Otherwise, we'd have just had seen the western portion of Ireland, or rather the eastern portion. So we're bouncing around again on some of these smaller roads, even though that since Ireland has joined the EC or the EU, there are now bigger highways there, and so some of them do skirt around town. Hey, there we go. See, those are some of the brand new houses that are being built.
Yeah.
And you know what? I asked. I said, well, why is all this prosperity? What is it coming from? It's coming from the computer industry. Not building computers, but doing the software and doing the program, that sort of stuff.
Is the labor cheaper in Ireland then? Is that what
not
they
any
attract?
longer.
Well,
No, I guess it was at one time, but not any longer. I talked to Monsignor Burns before we left, and he goes to Ireland to visit his family, of course, every year. And he says, oh, my, he says, you wouldn't believe. He said, I took my family out to dinner, and it cost an arm and 2 legs.
I was thinking about Peggy travels with us a lot, and she bought a condo over there, maybe 10 years ago.
Good investment.
Right. But she loves Ireland, and so she goes every year anyway.
Yeah, no,
but
it's
what
great.
a good investment, because she's really probably tripled her investment.
I would imagine. Now, this is where the doves, or the pigeons, were kept. And they used to do this with monasteries as well, because then you'd have fresh eggs if you weren't raising chickens. You could raise pigeons or whatever.
I think, well, of course, they ate them. That was food. Pigeons. Squab, isn't that
Some
what
people still
Isn't that
do.
what squab is?
No, I don't think so.
Isn't
is
it?
Oh.
Well, I thought it was. But little pigeons? Well, anyway.
Little bird.
But they call those coots.
That's right. Yeah, that's what they call that. Right.
They're so coot.
Anyway.
Oh, you're so good. You laugh at me, and I love it.
No,
you
it's
encourage
great.
me.
But we've stopped in this little town before, and it's just beautiful. And the church is across the street, and across the street from that, you will see the thatching. The thatch roofs. Did I say that Irish way?
You said that's
thatch?
good. It's T-H-A-T-C-H, I think. Thatch. T-H.
It's thatch,
it's
right.
Thatch.
But the Irish say
they
tatch.
say tatch.
Right.
It's so cute.
And we can see that.
Oh, look at them. See, isn't
it's
that just
beautiful.
wonderful?
And, of course, and the little gardens that are there. I think this is probably some of the most photographed buildings in all of Ireland, because everybody seems to want to stop here and take a look. You know.
Now, when we were there before, the flowers were so colorful. They have flowers up there now, but they had more of the spring flowers, and it was just a riot of colors.
Right, and they seem to be able to grow flowers all year around in this little town of Adair, and it is really quite beautiful. Well, Betty, now we're going to take off and go to another castle.
Yeah.
You know, this is the one that you really like.
I love them, but I was thinking when we
Not
were...
this one. Not this one. We're going on past this one. That one's a little drafty.
You're not letting me finish.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Now,
Go
just
ahead.
let me finish. What?
You have something
that's
worthwhile
okay.
to say?
I forgot what I was going to say. No, actually, when we were going down the river, we would say ABC, another bloody castle.
Right? Yeah.
And
this
it is beautiful.
It is. It's a great one.
Yeah.
In fact, there's a folk park here, just like the sign says, as you can see. And we were very fortunate this time. The first time we went there, we went at night, and Betty and I were kind of crowned the Lord and Lady of the Manor, and we won't talk about that one because that was rather a liquid evening, as it were. However,
it was such fun. It was such fun. It was a banquet that they give, and they do have the king and the queen, and they banish people off to prison. And those poor people, everybody had to go to prison.
That's right.
Because Marv did it.
Right. Well, anyway, we're going to visit the park during the daytime now, and you know, this is so interesting. In fact, look at this lady and these humongous apples.
I don't think the machine would cope with these. They're too big.
Betty, I've never seen apples that big before in my life. Those are really something. And you know, later on, of course, we all had lunch at different places if we wanted to, and they had a little, I want to say, I guess it was a tea room type of place. And so I went over there, and one of the things on the menu was this apple cobbler that she was making. In fact, it was not this very cobbler, but she had made other cobblers there in the morning, and they cooked them, and it was so good.
Look at how she slices.
I know
I've
that.
Never
Look
seen
at
anybody. And we're so used to they have the automatic peelers, but I guess those were too big to fit on a peeler.
You're right. It was too big to put. I asked her about that, and she said, "Oh no, these are too big." Anyway, as we go through the folk park, you can see the various levels of what do you want to say, socioeconomic groups, I guess. So this was a house that was probably just a little bit better than probably most of the workers who were on the farm, as we can see here.
It looks like
and I mean, a lot of beautiful things in here. And I just really love this place because besides all of the farm things, there was a whole village there as well. And they also had an active pub there, which some of our people had lunch at that particular place. But it was really wonderful. And I loved these little pairs of shoes that you can see. Now, can you imagine getting those into those
Putting
things?
those on.
Oh, boy.
I wonder if I didn't notice, but were they buttons? Did they have the button
were.
Up?
Yeah.
And
Here's a little tea room right there that I want to show everybody.
With attached roof, huh?
Pardon me?
With attached roof.
With attached roof, right.
Yeah.
And look at this. This duck has got his own attached roof right here as we look outside in the farmland. But let's learn a little bit about peat fires. Is the peat hard to get started?
No, not really. If you have a spark at all, it will start, you know. This one is sometimes the ashes choke it.
What do you usually start it with?
Well, usually I would use a fire lighter. Right, but long ago they wouldn't ever let the fire out. They would just put the ashes up over it night and the spark next day, you know, to get it started. Yeah, let it come on there now. Near to it. Yeah.
Well, now we learn a little bit about the peat fires.
Yeah, who was Pete Fires? Is that his last name?
It was just a guy who hung around there.
Oh, okay.
But you know, I have to say this, and you smell the peat burning, and if you go through a village where they're doing a lot of that, there is a particular pungency to it.
Not bad.
Not too terribly great either, though.
But you know what peat is?
Yeah, just dried dirt.
Dried dirt.
Well, I'd say, no, it's more than that.
It's plant life.
Yeah, there were plants
yeah,
and I thought I had a shot here, but maybe we'll have it in one of the other shows where we go by the peat bogs.
Well, that's
where
better
they're
than
farming
buffalo cookies. to burn a fire.
Okay, I'm not
huh?
going to touch that one.
All right.
Anyway, the sheep's in the meadow and the cow's in the corn.
Okay.
They had a lot of livestock that was here too. This is big. This folk park. You know, the first time we went there was nighttime, and we didn't get to see all of this. But this particular trip, we got to go through here. I mean, the gardens, the various types of
Everything.
houses. We could see the way that people lived in the past, and look at those slate roofs. Aren't
Yeah.
those something?
I just love the way they furnished and how well they got along with little tiny rooms.
Yeah.
But I guess the tiny rooms were to keep them warmer because of the heat would be a problem, and also it would keep them cooler in the summer. But they don't get real hot weather.
No,
Yeah,
no. In fact, you know, the several times that we've been to Ireland, this is a chicken coop for inside the house, inside the kitchen.
Well, it makes it convenient for
Sure.
breakfast. You don't have
Just
to
go
go
grab
out
the
and
eggs,
get
right?
Yeah.
But what I was going to say is, most of the times we've been to Ireland, it has been, you know, we haven't seen too much rain. We did on this particular trip, but we've seen the Irish get out there when they had a warm day, and they all got sunburn.
Oh, sure.
You
well,
know?
but we Irish have that kind of a complexion.
Very fair.
Very fair.
Right.
Yes. Yeah.
Very fair. Now,
So,
this was, you talked about fences earlier in the show. This was sort of like a slate fence, these big pieces of slate, as opposed to some of the little stones. Now, here's a picture that was showed you that particular area and how these
In those
people,
days,
you know, lived back a few years ago.
I thought you had the ability to take us back into time on a
Just close
time
your
capsule. Huh?
eyes, and that's what we'll do.
Yeah, yeah.
Also, for those of you who are into farming, you would really love to see all of these farm implements that are here. They did a beautiful job, I think, of all of the artifacts that they had here. Not only the farm implements, but also, of course, watching the people actually doing some of the work there as well.
You cannot do a show without having a bird in it, can you?
Well, there seem to be a lot of birds
oh
around, you know.
my golly sake!
No, this was in another house, and this was a larger home, probably what we would consider a small manor house, I would suspect.
Okay.
But you can see how it's furnished. Now, these people had to be probably, you know, they probably had to have a few dollars in their bank account, I would imagine, because these furnishings were probably not very inexpensive in those days, and they're probably now they're very expensive because they're all antiques.
And look at the beautiful wallpaper.
Yeah. It was very, very nice. I thought this was just set up so nicely. And remember now, this is Bunratty Castle and Bunratty Park, the folk park. So if you go to Ireland, you don't want to miss this. Now, the hedgerows that they make the fences out of are made out of a living bush that we can see here, which is a fuchsia, which is hard for us to grow here in the valley, but boy, in Ireland, they can certainly do it. Betty, that's all the time that we have right now.
Okay, all right.
If people are interested in the trips that you have coming up, all they have to do is give you a call at
488-7443.
yeah, area code 559 for those
Thank
of you that live outside of the 559 area code. See you next time. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.